So Palm Sunday traditionally is the day in which we are here to celebrate something, as the people 2,000 years ago celebrated something. That was the image, the symbol that we were trying to offer in terms of a procession and waving of cedar boughs and the palm leaves, branches, and our flags and so on. It's a celebration of joy and happiness. And the event that occurred 2,000 years ago when Jesus entered Jerusalem was not kind of a dichotomy in that there was this great celebration that was occurring on the one hand. On the other hand, there were very ominous overtones about what was to come. And Jesus himself knew that he was moving into some deep trouble. He was coming to the center of power and authority, and he knew that his life was soon to be threatened. Now, the people are celebrating something. What were they celebrating? Why were they waving these palm branches and why putting down their cloaks? What was it they were celebrating?
The Messiah, I guess.
The Messiah. Which Messiah? What were they celebrating? What were they?
That was prophecy.
Pardon?
The one that was prophesied.
The one that was prophesied. They were celebrating the fact that Jesus the Messiah was returning to Jerusalem. But there was a catch. The Messiah they expected was the one that was going to liberate them from the authority and the control and the power and the hostility of the Roman Empire. That is the Messiah they wanted. They were expecting Jesus to stand toe-to-toe with Pontius Pilate and take him out. And this was the grand celebration, finally, after all these years. They were misguided. For the 3 years that Jesus had been preaching, they didn't really understand what was happening, and they didn't quite get it because here he was coming into Jerusalem, not on a steed, not on a white stallion like Trigger or Silver. He came in on a donkey. Donkey. Donkeys throughout the course of history have really got a bad rap. Aesop's fables. You may remember. Do you remember the movie or the TV show Gunsmoke? Some of you might remember. And I think his name was Festus.
Yeah.
What did he ride? A donkey, right? They're all on these great big horses, and then along comes Festus on this little donkey. Donkeys throughout the course of history have had a really bad rap. And one of the donkeys that is most famous from Hollywood came from the movie Shrek. Remember that donkey? Right? Let me show you that donkey.
All right, then. Move on. Head him up, head him up. Move on, head him up. Head him up, roll high. Remember now, pound that, make the cheese, laugh it, pick him up. Still remember hard, raw, high.
Are we there yet? No. Are we there yet? Hey, are we there yet? No.
Are we there yet?
No.
Are we there yet?
Yes.
Really?
No. Are we there yet? No.
Are we there yet? Are we there yet?
No.
Are we
Are we
there
there
yet?
yet?
Hey, that's not funny. Hey, that's really amateur.
Amateur.
See, this is why you let me go. All right, yo. I'm gonna just stop talking.
Finally.
But this is taking forever. Straight it ain't no in-flight movie or nothing.
The kingdom of far, far away donkey. That's where we're going. Far, far away.
That's an easy donkey. Something that struck me this time reading this story of Jesus entering Jerusalem is that Jesus told his disciples to go and choose a donkey that they would find tied up. But what never occurred to me was before, he chose a female donkey. And he chose a donkey with a colt. And this poor donkey It's been stripped from its life with its child, its family, to participate in something that it had no control over. And suddenly, this donkey is carrying the burden of Jesus on her back with the colt alongside in order to take him into Jerusalem, a foreign place to this particular donkey. And that journey for the donkey was far, far away. It was far, far away. Our journey of faith to find a relationship with God and Jesus is often seems to us to be far, far away. And often, we journey this journey of life, of faith, of participating in a faith community, and we ask the question, are we there yet? Are we there yet? What's at the end of the journey? Are we there yet? What's coming next? We have no idea. As the disciples and as the people who entered with Jesus into Jerusalem had no idea what it was he was bringing to them. A new way of living, a new way of being. And Jesus was very astute. He was also very political. Because as Jesus historically came from Bethany, where Lazarus and Mary and Martha, his friends, were, and they traveled the 4 miles from Bethany to Bethany, through the valley of Kidron, through the Mount of Olives. He picked up the donkey in Bethany, sat upon this donkey, and he went through the valley of Kidron into the eastern gate of Jerusalem. Now this weekend, they were celebrating the Passover meal. The Passover meal was the time in which all faithful Jewish people would come back to Jerusalem to go to worship in the temple. It was also the time that the Roman governor, Pontius Pilate, saw an opportunity to ensure that his authority was established and reaffirmed. And there is some historical evidence that at the same time of the Passover meal, Pontius Pilate and his Roman legions, and the chariots, and the spear carriers, and the armor, and the helmets, all came to Jerusalem from through the western entrance in order to say to the people of Israel, you better keep calm, because we are your bosses. It is we who control you. The Romans were asserting their authority as they came on their great steeds and their chariots and their war machines. And yet Jesus came humbly through the eastern gate on a lowly donkey, on a journey that was setting a course for human history that we had never experienced before. The disciples followed the line, followed the competition. The disciples did as Jesus had asked. The disciples had asked, what is it you want us to do? The disciples went and did as Jesus had directed them. The disciples followed the path that Jesus had established, and we listened to what he had to say. There was a faith community in the United States that was looking for a mission statement. I was kind of Googling around this past week, and what their mission statement is this line. They went and did as Jesus had directed them. That was their mission statement. They followed the way of Christ. And very simply put, it was to love your neighbor as yourself, to live a life of compassion and care, to live a life of justice and equity, to live a life where all people have equal opportunities, to live a life where you have for you a foundation of faith on a journey of faith that seems sometimes endless and sometimes unforeseen. We begin at the gates of Jerusalem on this Palm Sunday. We wave our flags in celebration, asking to understand that we have a journey and we have a leader in Jesus that will give us what we need, provide us the compassion, the care, and the hope as we come close to the cross that Jesus bore for you and I, that we might know God more clearly. Thanks be to God. Amen.